please. Come on. Hey, good evening. Happy New Year again. This is Tony Dottino doing my Live with Tony with my Facebook audience and my 5 o'clock hour, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And as I was starting tonight's broadcast, the video screen kept shutting off and unable to access camera. So it's good to be able to get on and share today's highlights with you. And it comes from the current issue, January issue of the Tufts newsletter. I subscribe to a bunch of newsletters, as my audience knows, and it comes from the Health and Nutrition letter from January, and it's your guide to living a healthier and longer life that picks up on a few tips that I thought would be really interesting to share with my Live with Tony audience. And we're going to start right with setting specific, realistic, short-term goals. And that got me to think about some of the tips that I share with people on those that are taking the Maximum Memory Mastery online course. And that is to set themselves some goals on remembering names and faces. And how do we maintain social interaction? Well, one of the simplest things is to work on the skills of how do you remember a person's name and link it to their face so that they can encode it, so that when they see that person the next time, whether it's on a Zoom or whether it's on walking by in a store or a sidewalk, they can remember what their name is. And so I was meeting a gentleman yesterday who was walking by, and he introduced himself to me as, hey, I do see you in the neighborhood. I see you running. My name is Paul. What is yours? And so I thought about Paul, and I stopped and I looked at him. And I immediately said, the next time I see him on the street, I'm going to look at him with my brother Paul standing next to him. Then he asked my name, and I said to him, okay, just look, when you look at my face, so I brought it to my forehead, think of somebody who, when I leave Florida, I go to T-O-N-Y, to New York, and you'll remember my name as being Tony. And he said, wow, I think that'll be easy for me to see you and remember Tony in the future. So I'll see Paul walking down the street, and he'll see Tony running up the street, and it's a little simple tip on how do you remember names and faces. And that's more detailed in our Maximum Memory Mastery online course on how do you build stronger relationships by starting with remembering names and faces. So in our first tip for the new year, set realistic and short-term goals. So how about in setting a goal and making it a goal that you really are bought into? It shouldn't be a goal because Tony said that I should do this. Here's something that you see as being a benefit to yourself, and therefore you want to establish a short-term goal. And how many people will you make it a challenge to yourself to go out and remember their names for this week? And for this week, it doesn't have to be 50 or 100. It can be as simple as 3 people. I am going to make it a point of remembering the names of 3 people over the next 7 days. I'm going to use some different techniques and how do I make associations and make a link and a connection to making that happen. Similar to what I did with Paul, my brother, and Tony being T-O-N-Y. And just make that goal something that you are confident that you will pursue and that you will not be discouraged in the event that you don't achieve it. You know what? It's okay. The fact that you engaged, you're already playing the game of what I call winning in life. So that was one tip that I thought. The second one is making notes that they offered. I thought they did a really nice job of recommending some tips that I think are practical of taking charge. So the second one was tracking your progress and having a written diary or using a mobile app that you record your progress in. And maybe you just jot down on a piece of paper the names of people you remembered. Or maybe it's, I want to remember some telephone numbers of people that I talked to. And make it a skill of not using your iPhone, which kind of dumbs down your own encoding skills and abilities, and it kind of outsources it to a mobile device. Start using your own brain and saying, how do I remember 7 digits of a phone number? And remembering people that I need to call or talk with. It's amazing how many people I ask about, well, what's your phone number? And they kind of look at me like, geez, what are you talking about? Or somebody that they call on a regular basis, and they kind of stare at you like, you want me to remember that name or that phone number? And it's kind of an amusing conversation, but we've outsourced so much to technology that it's time to start taking some of it back and bringing our own control. So how about going out? I've learned from one of my dear friends who's been moved into a rehab and a skilled nursing facility. They do this thing called BIMS, a brain instrument to measure their cognitive function. And they were taking me through the BIMS test, and I immediately said, but you're giving this test to people who may not have ever learned how their memory works or how you can improve their memories. How about if I could take some of the patients that you're giving this test to, that you're now viewing as myocognitively impaired, how about if we teach them some skills and then see if they retake the test and maybe get 100% on it? And it's interesting that so many people have never learned how they can improve their memory and what are some of the steps they can take. So now we're going to set some goals, and now we're going to do some tracking of progress. So we'll write these things down, and we're going to prove that if we have to take a BIMS test ever in our life, we're going to do as best as we mentally are skilled and able to do that. Now, this is a really good one, and it's engage family and friends. Rely on people who can provide you with support, encouragement, and accountability. So now what is that all about? Tell someone that you have trust, a friend, you say, you know what, I just made it a goal this week to remember 4 people's phone numbers, or I'm going to remember 3 of my credit card numbers so that I don't need to look at my credit card and expiration dates when I'm giving that out to someone. Or I'm going to remember a list of 10 things that I need to capture in a grocery store, and I'm not going to create a list for it. Or I'm going to remember 4 or 5 bits of data about people that I meet on the street. So in Paul's case, boom, I mapped out in my mind several bits of data. He was a school administrator at one point in time. He buys and sells. He's bought and sold houses a good number of times. And he's got family that lives within a mile of his residence here in Windermere, Florida. So I make it a point of, okay, I'm going to remember some things. And what is interesting about the myth of learning and retaining is people think the more they have to encode, the harder it is to remember it. In fact, it's the opposite. The more we learn about something, the easier it is for us to remember more. So what I suggest here, tip number 3 from our Tufts people, is let people know what your goals are and what you're working to achieve. But again, the goals should be reasonable and fundamental to what you're trying to accomplish. But then sharing with family or friends and being, let them encourage you to have, so how are you doing on that goal? Let me give you a suggestion on what you might do and make it fun and bring it into a social environment, which we know from today's science that's coming out more and more, the importance and how imperative it is that we maintain social interaction. So all I'm giving you is some suggestions on how you can maintain social interaction and how you can make it fun and how you can maybe challenge somebody else. Well, why don't you try 3 and let me teach you something that I've learned that I'm using that may help you. So again, I'm just looking to pick up these tips from the Tufts newsletter, bring them down to you in terms of setting your goals, tracking your progress, and now engaging family and friends so that you build a little bit of a network of social interaction so you get a byproduct of doing this work, not only in the mental skills of encoding information for your own benefits, but you also get some benefits that are overall wonderful for your overall brain health, which is really what you're trying to accomplish. And then their 4th tip they get is get regular feedback. And so make sure that you're reviewing progress and they tell you how they think you're doing. And so getting feedback from people is one of our best ways of ensuring our continuous learning and our continuous growth in our own brain power and brain capacities, but in also, again, opening conversation. So I was meeting with someone today, and we were talking about some things going on, and I was saying, so how are you doing? It wasn't about, here's how I'm doing. It was, so tell me, how are you doing in the progress of what's going on and what you're trying to accomplish? And tell me a little bit about it. And boy, I got a beaming smile that just, wow, you're really asking me how I'm doing. And so, yeah, it wasn't about how Tony was doing. It was about how this person that I was talking to, how are you doing? And is there anything that I might be able to help you with in a conversation or something you're trying to accomplish for your family members, that maybe I can just give you a tip or a suggestion in offering some support and encouragement to this person that I was talking to, probably 12 feet away on a outdoor sidewalk. And so took a bike ride today, got to meet someone that I knew, was coming back from a visitation that I will pick up in my next broadcast. But it was, so tell me, how's it working? And what are you learning? And are there any things that I can do to help you? And it just brought, you could just see in her body language, her shoulders, her face, it just brought about a beautiful smile and a really, really powerful dialogue that really was extremely helpful. So these are some of the tips as I was reading through this, easy steps to maintaining your brain health. And there's small change suggestions. The thing that was interesting about this was these don't have to be major steps. You know, I'm going to conquer the world and capture the earth and put it on my shoulders. They're small steps that build our confidence, that bring us through the things we got to do to encode up in here an attitude of empowerment and now into an attitude of enabling yourself to reach and maximize your own personal brain health and body's physical health. So it ties back perfectly to a guide to living a healthier and longer life. And that's what my Live with Tony series is all about. And that's what the next workshop that Michael Dattino is working on in what we call our Brain Power series. So we have a Brain Power series that is going to have the maximum memory mastery, elements of brain health, and your learning to learn. And I think we've got a comprehensive package that will make a difference in people's lives as we try to implement and execute the tips that we offer and get in some of our medical newsletters. So until Friday in the 5 o'clock hour, have a good week, and we'll look forward to seeing you again on Friday.